I think what we should have learned from Donald Trump running for president, winning the election, his failure as president, his continued support, is that there is no sucker like a bigoted sucker. There is no sucker sweeter than a bigoted sucker. And I think Donald Trump understood this better than anybody else in today's time. And Donald Trump has sucked his sucker almost dry.
One of the grand hypocrisies of the MAGA movement is how often its leaders fleeced the very folks they claim to be fighting for. Case in point, throughout 2020, many Trump supporters thought they were making a one-time donation to the Trump campaign, only to find out later that their bank accounts were being repeatedly drained, leaving some of these so-called forgotten men and women unable to pay their basic bills. The Trump campaign donation site tricked donors with shady language and deceptive pre-checked boxes into making these recurring donations, setting off a flurry of fraud complaints and forced refunds, as first reported by the New York Times.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Last September, Russ Blatt's brother, Stacey, contributed $500 to the Trump campaign. Within a month, Stacey Blatt was bouncing checks, his bank account drained.
We saw the 6 withdrawals of $500 totaling $3,000 that had been taken from his account starting in mid-September, and over the course of a month, they took $3,000.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Russ had become his brother's financial power of attorney due to his brother's failing health. The Blatts realized only then that Stacey was signed up to make recurring donations to the Trump campaign. Stacey Blatt died of cancer in February.
They just kept taking money out until there was no money left.
And Stacey was not alone. A New York Times investigation revealing the alarming extent and reach of a calculated Trump campaign scheme to get supporters signed up for recurring donations by default, and later adding a second pre-check box to double a donor's contribution. According to the Times, the Trump campaign internally called it a money bomb, a tactic that experts say is intentionally designed to be easily overlooked. When supporters contributed online, a yellow box to make a recurring donation came pre-checked, requiring donors who wanted to make a one-time contribution to opt out.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
And it wasn't easy to spot.
He didn't remember seeing anything like that. He thought he was giving a one-time $500 donation. It seemed like it was deceitful.
Thousands overlooked it, and the Trump campaign ran with it.
In the fall or the late summer, as the Trump campaign faced financial pressures, they made a really important change, which is they took that box, and instead of taking donations out every month, they began taking them out every week.
Banks and credit card companies have been flooded with calls from donors, the Times reports, leading the Trump campaign and RNC to refund a massive amount of money. The New York Times reporting that from the period of mid-October through December of 2020, the Trump campaign and the RNC made more than 530,000 refunds, amounting to more than $64 million.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.
We did very well with the fundraising stuff, but a lot of it came in small donations.
The boost of money that came with the recurring donations came when President Trump was in need of it the most, just weeks before the election and short on cash.
So that money that they took from donors through recurring donations really does add up functionally to being a de facto loan with no interest from their own supporters.
And were funded only after the election with funds the campaign collected to promote baseless claims of election fraud.
If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon B. Johnson.